Welcome to this week's edition of Man vs. Machine, where each week of the college football season, I put my betting insight up against a statistically driven prediction database. As always, I've got the owner of thepowerrank.com and builder of this system, Ed Feng, on the line with me to go over Week 7's college football action. Ed, first things first, your system continues to go 2-1 each week, a big profit maker for the watchers. And at this point in time, we're considering changing the name of the show to Man Tails Machine, man. I'm about tapped out. Anyway, what's up? What games are we looking at this week?
Nothing much. Hey, I just want to mention, Drew, I appreciate the record, but I try not to think about that as much as possible. I just try to do the same thing that I've been doing every week, which is combine my numbers with what I know about college football and the games that I watch and the subjective factors I realize. So try not to think about the record at all going into the next week.
Dude, a true machine. And 2-1 week after week, you're making people money, so it's good stuff here on SBR. We appreciate it. And yeah, let's get right into it. We got first game up, 1-2-1, 1-2-2. Akron versus Western Michigan. Looks like on SBR odds right now, it's Western Michigan minus 14.5 across the board. Total of 58.5. If you're looking to go towards the over, Chris is hanging a 58. Ed, how are you looking to bet this game?
Yeah, I'm looking to the anti-Chris lean. I like the over in this game. Probably one of my favorite games of the week. These are two defenses that are pretty bad. They both rank worse than 110th in my numbers. These are defensive rankings by adjusted yards per play. For Western Michigan, you got to think back even to last year. They were 13-1, but the defense wasn't really good. It was the offense that really carried that unit. It really carried that team. They don't look particularly better this year. On the other side of the ball, you have an Akron defense that struggled last year, continues to struggle this year. They kind of looked good against Ball State last week, but you got to remember Ball State had the backup quarterback in. I think this one's pretty plain. Two bad defenses. You got to like the over on this.
Okay, but what about the fact that Akron is, let's see, all unders so far against the closing line? That's 6 straight unders this week. Does that scare you at all?
No, not really. I think the defenses, there's a lot of things that can happen in games where the final score goes against what you actually did in terms of moving the ball, in terms of the efficiency in which you move the ball. I don't really have a lot of confidence in Akron defense to slow down Western Michigan. I think Western Michigan can possibly pull away in this game. And I think Western Michigan's defense is weak enough that Akron's going to put some points on the board.
Okay, so we got the over in the Akron-Western Michigan game. Another game here in the MAC, or one team in the MAC, 1-2-5, 1-2-6, Eastern Michigan versus Army. Looks like a total of 46 at Pinnacle, 46.5 at 5 dimes, and -6 pretty much across the board for Army. Are you looking to bet this one from a side or total perspective, Ed?
Yeah, this is total, and this is where we might change the show from Man versus Machine to Man versus Crazy. I like the over in this game, and I know that might seem a little bit crazy based on what the Eastern Michigan offense has done. They lost 4 or 5 guys on the offensive line, and the offense doesn't look very good at this point of the game. And I know you're going to come back at with me. I think they've gone under in every game this year. But I'm going to come back at you because I don't think Army's defense is particularly good. They traditionally haven't had a really good defense over the last couple of years. They look even worse this season in terms of yards per play allowed, and their secondary is decimated with a bunch of season-ending injuries in the secondary. So this is a game where I can definitely see why people would think the under is the right thing. But when I run the numbers, I look at yards per play, I look at pace, and the numbers definitely suggest over in this Eastern Michigan Army game. Yeah, would love your thoughts on Eastern Michigan, Drew.
Yeah, you bring up the point that all of their games have gone under, and also Army, I think is 3-3 over under teams so far against the closing line. The reason I wouldn't go towards the over, I disagree with you in this game, is because the military academies I always tend to find as under teams, because of the way they run clocks. So I hate getting wrapped up in betting them over with the amount of possession that they always have. And also, like you brought up with Eastern Michigan, their offensive issues. all of their games falling under the total. But hey, you got to buck that trend at some point. It sounds like you are, Ed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Drew, and I think that's a great concern. And that was definitely something I thought about in this game. Triple option teams, they run the ball, the clock keeps running. They're they're a team that just gets 3-4 yards every play, has these long drives, and not a lot of possessions in the game. Definitely something I thought about. My numbers actually make this game at 52, so I feel like the gap is big enough where I believe that I think over is still the right play. Also, just to comment, Eastern Michigan's defense has been pretty good this year compared to, I think, a lot of what we expected. That's part of the reason they've gone under in every game. And Eastern Michigan +6. I mean, if you really believe in that Eastern Michigan defense and what they've done, you kind of got to like the side for Eastern Michigan in this if it's all the way up at 6.
Yeah, that could be correlated there, no doubt about it. Hey, one more here, 137, 138. We got Texas Tech, West Virginia. I have a feeling I'm going to agree with you just because of the two profiles that these two teams have. Looks like we got a bunch of money coming in on Texas Tech. West Virginia open -6.5, now down to 3 pretty much across the board. And the total is 78.5 at Pinnacle, 76 almost everywhere else. So some opinion in this total. I like the over. It sounds like, I'm not going to go there. Which way are you going to bet this, Ed?
Yeah, I'm liking the over. I think the only reason to not like the over with these kinds of Big 12 teams is if you think Texas Tech's defense has made a big improvement. I actually had Matt Holt from CG Technologies on my podcast this week, speaker at IFBC down in Costa Rica this summer, and he talked about how much better Texas Tech defense has been this year. And I think that's something that you need to consider. But even if you just look at their numbers from this season, they're about an FBS average defense. If you look at yards per play, adjusted yards per play, they're about average. And I really believe in this West Virginia offense. They've been particularly good this year. Will Greer, the transfer from quarterback, has been pretty incredible. I still think the West Virginia team is a team that can put up 40-ish points in this game. So I do like the over. I understand if you're hesitant because of Texas Tech's defense. But that's a unit that hasn't traditionally been good, and maybe we're looking at small sample size for the 5 games that we're looking at this year.
Ed, looks like we got a 75.5 at the Greek, so make sure to check out SBR odds to get the best number on these games. Ed is a 2-1 machine, man. Back-to-back weeks, just making money for the watchers. So Ed, I guess right before we close it out, I know a lot to talk about here. We got men's soccer. You were at the Michigan State game. Anything you want to leave the listeners with before we close out?
Yeah, I mean, it was a wet Michigan and Michigan State game. Still kind of contemplating whether I see some value on the side with Michigan this upcoming week. Another one that you maybe want to puke at after how the offense played last week. But I'm really still getting over Costa Rica letting Panama have a goal last night that sent the U.S. home from World Cup qualifying, not going to the World Cup. I haven't felt this bad about a sporting event in a long time. Big soccer fan. I really like the talent on this U.S. men's national team, and they just couldn't get it done. That's what happens sometimes. And, as a kid, still have bad memories of the Phillies losing the 94 World Series, Joe Carter hitting a walk-off home run. That one still hurts. It'll be a while before I get over this one for the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, Ed, I'd like to get your opinion. What do you think? I'm surprised that FIFA let that happen. America's not going to be in the World Cup.
Exactly.
I feel like, they let a lot of money in. Just hang out there, man. What do you think about that?
Well, I just think there's a lot of, you're probably going to go from 24 million people watching in the United States for those 3 group games to 2 million for whatever replacement game it is. And, obviously it was pretty fair. Panama scored a goal. It was legit. U.S. Yeah. It's, we live in the sports media world, Drew. And this is really not good for U.S. sports media. I think Fox has the World Cup. They're going to take a huge hit for the U.S. not going to the World Cup next year. A lot less for people to talk about, less for advertising dollars. So, you bring up a great point.
Yeah, that's what surprised me about that one. And then also, did you have a good time at Michigan State-Michigan game?
Yeah, I did. It was kind of wet. Michigan kind of stunk. But, when you get a night game at the Big House, it's pretty electric. when Notre Dame played their last game in the Big House a couple years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, there was 124,000 in there, and it was probably the best sporting environment I've ever been in. This last week was pretty close. Could have been better if Michigan played better, but that's how it goes.
Cool, man. We'll find Ed on Twitter at The Power Rank, his work at thepowerrank.com, that great podcast that he does. He had Matt Hold on. I can't wait to listen to it. What'd y'all talk about, Ed?
Oh, we had a great talk. I mean, I tried to get him to talk about some of the analytics, and he gave us a little bit. But then we ended up spending most of the time talking about how we adjust the analytics for subjective factors. And he actually made some great points about how, it's hard to figure out how far a team like UNC is going to drop. I mean, that's potentially a side I was looking at this week. But, then we talked about it. It's like, there's only so much that Georgia can rise, right? They're probably not going to be better than Alabama. There's like a ceiling there. But what is the bottom? What is the bottom for a UNC? What is the bottom for a Baylor? And he talked a lot about how that's hard to figure out. And that's what makes setting lines in those games hard for them. And figuring out, for us, figuring out what the right line should be as well.
Yeah, well, check out that podcast. Sounds like a good one at thepowerrank.com. Follow Ed on Twitter at thepowerrank. And Ed, talk to you next week, bud. Thanks.
Yeah, can't wait, Drew. Talk to you then.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.